The screech tore through the palace before I even saw him. Glass shattered somewhere down the corridor. Smoke curled under the doorway. My hand was already on my blade before my mind caught up with what was happening. The Emperor's baby dragon had broken free. His name was Smos, and he was the size of a large dog, but do not let that fool you. A dragon that small can still melt metal with one breath. He came crashing through the archway in a storm of broken glass, wings half open, smoke pouring from his nose, eyes wide with something that looked like pure rage. Guards scattered, handlers dropped their tools and ran. Someone knocked over a stone vase that had stood in that hall for 100 years, and it shattered without anyone even noticing, because nobody had time to care about old stone when a small mountain of fire was loose in the palace. I am Urkesh Vantal, captain of the palace guard, and I have fought void raiders and desert beasts, and things I will not describe to you now. But nothing prepared me for the sound Saith made as he backed himself into the corner between two stone pillars. It was a scream and a growl mixed together, a sound that promised pain to anyone who came near him. For 6 days this dragon had been screaming like this. Nobody knew why. His brothers and sisters had been sent away to another world for their training, and Saint Zaeth had been left alone in the nest for the first time in his short life. The royal healers tried sleeping herbs, they tried songs, they tried wrapping him in the Emperor's own robe so he could smell something familiar. Nothing worked. 2 handlers were already in the medical wing with burns on their arms. A whole section of the aviary had caught fire 2 days earlier. Now here he was, cornered, smoking, furious, and absolutely terrified, though none of us understood that last part yet. The Emperor arrived just as I raised my hand to signal the guards to close in. He looked older than I had ever seen him, tired in a way that had nothing to do with sleep. "Do not touch him," he said, his voice low and hard. "He is still my blood, even now." That order meant nobody could use force, and nobody knew what else to try. This was the exact moment the human delegation walked into the hall. Ellen Voss led the group, tall and calm, dressed in the simple gray coat her people wore for important meetings. She had come from Earth to finish a trade agreement between her people and ours, an agreement that had taken years of talking through screens and letters to reach this final day. Behind her walked a small girl with messy brown hair and a gap in her front teeth. Her name was Mira, and she was Ellen's daughter. I remember thinking, even in that chaos, that it was a strange thing for a diplomat to bring a small child into a palace full of armed dragons. But the humans had said their customs allowed it, and nobody expected anything more than a quiet, boring signing ceremony. Nobody expected this. "Get her back," Ellen said sharply to one of her guards, her eyes locked on Sasaeth's smoking jaws. But Mira was already walking forward. She did not run. She did not scream. She walked slowly, the way someone walks toward a nervous animal, with her hands open at her sides and her shoulders low. She hummed a small, simple tune under her breath, the kind of tune a parent hums to calm a crying baby. "Mira, stop," Ellen said, her voice sharp with fear now. "He's not mad," Mira said, still walking, still humming between words. "He's scared." I did not understand those words then. None of us did. We had spent 6 days treating this dragon like a weapon that needed to be controlled, sedated, locked away. It had not once crossed our minds that he might simply be a frightened baby who had lost his family and had no way to explain how alone he felt. Sasaeth's head snapped toward her. Smoke rolled from his nostrils. His jaws opened, showing rows of sharp new teeth, each one able to tear through solid stone. The head healer let out a sound close to a scream. I stepped forward, ready to throw myself between this child and a burst of dragon fire if it came to that. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my own ears. The Emperor grabbed my arm before I could move. "Wait," he whispered. Mira stopped just outside the reach of those snapping jaws. Then she sat down on the scorched stone floor, right there, lowering herself so she was no longer looking down at the dragon, but almost level with his eyes. She kept humming, You miss your brothers and sisters, she said softly. I miss my mom sometimes too, when she goes away on trips. It is okay to feel sad about that, but you don't need to be scared of me. I am not going to hurt you. Saith's growl faded into something quieter. His wings still stood open, but they had stopped shaking with rage and started shaking with something else. For one long moment, nobody in that hall breathed. Even the smoke seemed to hang still in the air. Then Mira reached out one small hand, palm open, moving slowly toward the softer scales just below his eye. I have led guards into battle. I have stood in front of enemy blades without blinking, but I have never, in my long life, felt a silence as heavy as the one in that hall, while her hand moved closer to that dragon's face. Her fingers touched his scales. Saith flinched, then slowly, he leaned into her hand. The fire in his throat went out. His wings folded down, no longer stiff with fear, but soft and loose. He made a low, rolling sound none of us had ever heard a dragon make before, almost like a whimper of relief. He pushed his snout gently against her shoulder, nearly knocking her over with his weight, and she just laughed and wrapped both arms around as much of his neck as she could reach, scratching under his jaw the way she said she used to scratch her family's dog back on Earth. The Emperor did not move for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice cracked in a way I had never heard from him before. 6 days, he said. 6 days my best healers could not calm him. 6 days I myself could not calm him. And a small human child sits on my floor and simply asks him what is wrong. He walked across that hall himself, the ruler of our entire empire, and knelt down on the burned stone in front of a 7-year-old girl and his own hatchling curled against her side. What is your name, little one? He asked. Mira, she said. Mira, he repeated slowly, as if testing how the word felt in his mouth. You have done something today that my whole empire could not do. Ask me for anything, and it is yours. Mira thought about this with the kind of seriousness only a child can manage, still scratching under Saith's jaw while he made soft, happy sounds beside her. Can he come visit me sometimes? She asked. I don't think he should be alone so much. The trade agreement was signed later that same evening, and it went far better than anyone expected. But people rarely talk about the papers that were signed that day. They talk about the dragon and the little girl. They talk about how the smallest, gentlest person in that entire hall was the only one who walked toward danger without fear. Not because she did not understand what Saith could do, but because she understood something the rest of us had missed completely. A frightened creature crying alone in a corner is not asking to be caged. It is asking someone to sit down beside it. I still serve the palace today. Scythe is fully grown now, with wide wings and a fierce presence, yet gentle in a way only a creature raised with real kindness can be. Once every year, when the agreement allows it, he travels to Earth to see her. And even now, grown as large as a small mountain, he still lets exactly one human scratch beneath his jaw. I have learned something from watching all this happen. Humans do not defeat fear by refusing to feel it. They defeat it by refusing to let anything, no matter how large or dangerous or angry it seems, go without love.